Hello, and welcome to North Dakota State University. My name is Kate Myers, and I am the primary contact for employee benefits here in the Office of Human Resources. And today I will be going over all of the benefits that NDSU offers its benefits eligible new hires. This presentation does include many helpful links and additional resources, so I would encourage you to save the slides as it might be helpful to have on hand as you go through your enrollment. If you don't have a copy of the PowerPoint, please reach out to me and I can send it to you. Also, my contact information will be included at the end of the presentation. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. Today we have a pretty full agenda as we'll go over all the benefits that you're offered as a new hire. I'll talk about enrolling in benefits and your deadline to enroll, what benefit premiums are paid for by NDSU, and what premiums are paid for by you as the employee. We'll talk about insurance. We have health, dental, vision, life, and supplemental coverage. We offer pre-tax spending accounts, including our 2 FSAs and our HSA. We have 2 well-being programs, the EAP and the Dakota Wellness Program. For retirement, we have 2 types of retirement, primary and supplemental retirement. I'll talk about when you can make changes to your benefits, and then we'll finish up with what to expect after the presentation. I'll start with the most important aspect of your benefits, which is your benefits enrollment. You only have 31 days from your hire date to enroll in your benefits at NDSU. To enroll, you'll need your ND PERS member ID number. This will be mailed to you, and you should have also received an email from myself on or around your first day that included this number, a benefits checklist, and the employee enrollment guide, which is step-by-step instructions for activating your account and completing your enrollment. So you'll enroll in most benefits online through member self-service. You'll first have to activate your ND PERS member self-service account, and then you'll be able to enroll using the enrollment guide. Your benefits will begin on the first of the month following your hire date. And if you don't enroll in benefits as a new hire, the only other opportunity you'll have to enroll is during annual open enrollment or within 31 days of a qualifying life event. And I'll talk more about both of those things later. So what benefits will you have to pay for, and what benefit premiums are paid for by NDSU? One of the best benefits that NDSU offers is that they pay for all benefited employees' health insurance premiums. And these premiums are paid for by NDSU regardless of the coverage level. So family and single coverage premiums would both be paid for. If you select a health plan that comes with a health savings account or an HSA, this account is funded by NDSU, and you also have the option to contribute to it if you want, and we'll talk more about the details on that later. NDSU offers flexible spending accounts or FSAs, and those would be paid for by you. Dental and vision insurance premiums are also paid for by you as the employee. And then the Employee Assistance Program is automatically paid for by NDSU, and everyone is enrolled in it. NDSU also provides all benefited employees a $12,000 basic term life insurance policy at no cost. And you are also able to purchase supplemental life insurance for yourself, your spouse, and any dependents you have. A long-term disability policy is provided to certain employees at no cost, and NDSU partners with Aflac to offer you supplemental insurance coverages like short-term disability, and those monthly premiums would be paid for by you. On the bottom right of the slide, I did include a link to a visual of all of NDSU's benefits. If you're a visual person like me, and you'll want to check that out when you get a chance. So the first insurance benefit that I'll talk about is health insurance. Our health insurance is administered by Sanford Health Plan. They're the insurance carrier. So there are two health plans employees can choose from. The first is the PPO Basic Grandfathered Plan, and the other is the High Deductible Health Plan. A lot of the time when people hear grandfathered, they might think that this is the best plan because it's grandfathered in, and it might not be offered elsewhere any longer. At NDSU, this isn't necessarily the case. Grandfathered when it comes to health insurance plans means it doesn't follow the Affordable Care Act or the ACA. And what the ACA does is it mandates that insurance companies cover certain preventative services at 100% right away for employees. This means that NDSU's PPO Basic Plan does not cover certain preventative services at 100% right away, and there is some shared cost for the employee for those services. Some examples of this would include your annual child wellness exam, routine prenatal and postnatal care. There's shared costs for breast pumps, contraception services, and birth control. Whereas those items and services would be covered by the high deductible health plan at 100% right away. So that's what ACA compliant and non-ACA compliant means. Also, the high deductible health plan comes with an HSA. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I did highlight the health plan comparison chart just to point out that this is a great resource to use when looking at your health plan options. It does a side-by-side comparison, and it includes more details than what I'm going to be talking about today. So I would highly recommend looking at that as you're reviewing your options for health insurance. I also just want to put a disclaimer out there that I can't advise on which health plan is better, one way or the other. It really just depends on your individual or family health needs and your financial situation. So when people ask me, what plan do employees commonly select? Historically, we have seen most people select the PPO Basic plan, but in the last couple of years, we have seen an increase in more employees selecting the high deductible health plan. The last item for this slide before we dive in to both of the plans is that you do have to actively elect your health insurance plan online in member self-service. And this is so we know what plan you want and the level of coverage you want. So even though NDSU pays the monthly premium, you're not automatically enrolled. You do have to go online and enroll. So just to give a brief overview of both of the plans, I'll start with the PPO Basic plan. This chart shows columns with preferred provider organization, which are in-network costs, and basic, which is out-of-network costs. I would say that most of the providers in the Fargo-Moorhead area are part of the preferred provider organization and are considered in-network, but there is an online directory through the Sanford Health Plan portal where you can check to see if a medical provider is part of the preferred provider organization. I also want to mention that Essentia Health is considered a network. So even though the carrier is Sanford Health Plan, you don't have to go to Sanford Health to get your medical care. So the PPO Basic Plan is more of a traditional health plan, which is what most people are used to. When you go to an in-network doctor, you would pay a $30 copay. And if you have to go to the emergency room, you would pay a $60 copay. To explain the deductible, coinsurance, and out-of-pocket maximum, I'm going to use figures for single coverage on the chart. So typically when you receive medical care, many services are subject to the annual deductible. A deductible is the amount of money that you have to pay out of pocket before coinsurance or cost sharing with the insurance carrier kicks in. For example, if you got in an accident and broke your leg and had to go to the emergency room, you would have to pay a $60 copay right away. With a broken leg, you might have to do an x-ray, get a cast, maybe you would even need crutches. You would get a bill for these services for an out-of-pocket expense of $500 as part of your annual deductible if that hadn't already been met for the year. Let's say those services end up totaling more than the cost of your deductible before insurance. That's when coinsurance would kick in and pay part of the total bill. The insurance carrier is going to pay 80% of the remaining cost, and you would be responsible for 20%. Throughout the year, you would continue to share costs of medical services until you reach your out-of-pocket maximum. For single coverage, the out-of-pocket max is $1,500. Then, generally, once the out-of-pocket maximum is met, the insurance carrier pays for everything afterwards. You'll see a few asterisks on family. That just means that the family deductible is embedded. So if you have family coverage and one individual in your family received medical services, that individual only has to pay up to the amount of the single deductible of $500 before coinsurance kicks in. That one individual person in your family would not themselves alone have to pay a $1,500 deductible. They would only pay $500 for themselves before their coinsurance would kick in. And then the last asterisk is on the out-of-pocket maximums. That just means that co-pays and prescriptions don't go towards your out-of-pocket maximum on this plan. So like I mentioned, prescription costs don't go towards your insurance annual deductible or your out-of-pocket maximum for medical services for this plan. However, there is a prescription payment schedule for the PPO plan. The schedule has 3 tiers: generic, brand name, and non-formulary. Common prescriptions usually fall under the generic or brand name tier. Newer medications or specialized treatments like cancer therapy drugs or treatments for autoimmune conditions can fall under the non-formulary tier. Sometimes medications that are not approved by the FDA or are experimental may also fall under the non-formulary tier. So each time you pick up a prescription, you'll pay a copay and a percentage of the balance as coinsurance. The cost will depend on the tier the medication falls under and can also be dependent on the pharmacy you go to. So for generic, it's a $7.50 copay plus 12% of the balance is coinsurance. For brand name, it's a $25 copay plus 25% of the balance is coinsurance. And for non-formulary, it's a $30 copay plus 50% of the balance is coinsurance. Most pharmacies in the area are considered in-network and will accept Sanford Health Plan insurance. You can check to see if your pharmacy is considered in-network if you go online and check in your Sanford Health Plan portal. The prescription schedule does have a coinsurance maximum of $1,200 per member per year, and this excludes copayments and coinsurance for non-formulary medications. So this means that even once you reach your maximum of paying $1,200 out of pocket for your meds, you'll continue to pay copayments. In addition to that, for non-formulary medications, you would still have to pay coinsurance. If you or anyone in your family has regular recurring prescriptions that you get filled, I would recommend reviewing the formulary list I have linked on this slide to ensure that your medications are listed in the formulary. If you do not see a medication listed in the formulary, that means the medication is non-formulary or it's not covered. I would suggest connecting with Sanford Health Plan directly to discuss if the medication is non-formulary or if it isn't covered, so you know what kind of expenses to expect. There are times when an exception can be made for a medication to be covered if your doctor deems it medically necessary. Your provider would just have to fill out a form and submit it to the insurance carrier. So here are the main costs for the high deductible health plan. You'll see that it's set up similarly with a column for in-network and out-of-network costs. Right away, you'll notice that there are no copays for this plan. Employees who select this plan would be responsible for paying up to $2,000 right away towards their single deductible. Coinsurance would then kick in and pay 80%. You would also pay coinsurance costs up to an additional $1,500 since the out-of-pocket maximum for single coverage is $3,500. Figures for family coverage are listed as well. The deductible for this family plan is non-embedded, so that means that one individual on the family plan would be responsible for reaching the $4,000 deductible before coinsurance would kick in. One feature is that prescriptions do go towards the deductible on this plan. Also, this plan comes with an employer-funded HSA to help with some of those higher upfront costs, and I'll talk more about that later. The last thing on this plan is it does cover preventative services at 100% because it is an ACA compliant plan. So as part of your medical insurance, Sanford Health Plan does also offer on-demand online urgent care 24/7. This is no cost to you if you have the PPO basic plan. And if you have the high deductible health plan, it's a discounted benefit where you would be able to use your HSA dollars to assist with covering the cost. You can access the online care benefit in your Sanford Health Plan portal online. Another item you can access online in the Sanford Health Plan portal is your digital insurance card while you wait for your physical card to come in the mail. Typically, employees will receive their physical card in the mail within 30 days of making their benefit elections. Next, we have our dental insurance, and DSU offers 2 dental plans, Delta Dental of Minnesota and Total Dental Administrators, or TDA for short. If you were to select one of our dental plans, you would have a monthly premium to pay that will come out of your paycheck. And then just as a side note, premiums are paid 1 month in advance after you complete your enrollment. So don't be alarmed if the first premium payment out of your check looks larger than the figures on the next slides. It's just because an additional month is included on it. Here are the monthly rates for both dental plans. They're pretty similar in cost. It starts off at $42.24 a month for Delta Dental employee-only coverage and $41.94 for TDA employee-only coverage. I've also included links to both summaries of benefits on each plan, but I'll do a quick comparison in a moment. One thing to point out is that if you were to select Delta Dental, you would enroll online in your member self-service account, so the same place you did your health insurance. However, if you would like to elect TDA, there is a paper form to complete. TDA elections are not done online. When we look at comparing the 2 dental plans, there are some similarities. Like all preventative services like exams and cleanings are covered at 100% for both plans. And then there is cost sharing for other services. Other services are covered at either 80% or 50%, depending on the service for Delta Dental. And then there's a copay schedule for services through TDA. Delta Dental does have a $50 deductible and TDA doesn't have a deductible. Delta Dental has a plan year maximum benefit of $1,000 per person per year, and TDA has a $2,000 maximum benefit per person per year. Delta Dental has orthodontics coverage that many dental insurance companies or plans don't have, including TDA. Delta Dental covers at 50% with a $1,500 maximum benefit per person per lifetime. As far as dentists that are considered in network, Delta Dental does have more providers in the Fargo-Moorhead area, whereas there are fewer dentists that are considered in network for TDA. Links to both network provider directories for both plans are included, and I would recommend that you check to see if a dentist is considered in network for both of the plans. The last thing I'll mention is that if you choose to call around or call your dentist to see if they're in network, your dentist may say that they take Delta Dental or they take TDA, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're considered in network for the plan. You'll need to see if your dentist is in network by looking them up in the provider directories so you don't end up paying out-of-network costs for your services. Similar to your health insurance card, you can expect to receive your physical dental insurance card in the mail within 30 days of enrolling. If you need a digital copy of your insurance card in the meantime, Delta Dental offers digital insurance cards online in their Delta Dental portal. For TDA, you would need to call for a copy of your digital insurance card and then they can email it to you. And then replacements for physical cards can be requested by contacting each of the carriers directly. Next, we have our vision insurance. It's administered by Superior Vision. We only have one plan. Similar to dental, vision premiums are paid for by you. These premiums would come out of your bi-monthly paychecks and are also paid one month in advance. Employee-only vision coverage starts off at $6.57 per month. If you would like to enroll in vision insurance, this is done online through your member self-service portal. So I have a link to the full summary of benefits on the slide, but some of the highlights of the vision plan are it offers one free annual eye exam, a $100 retail allowance for frames, standard lenses are covered, a standard contact lens fitting is covered, and you would receive a $100 allowance for contacts. You can expect to receive your physical insurance card within 30 days of enrolling. And then in the meantime, if you need a digital insurance card, this can be located in your Superior Vision portal. Next is our life insurance. Our life insurance is administered by Voya Financial. I've included a link to the rates, which are dependent on your age and level of supplemental coverage you want. So take a look at that on your own time if you're interested. Your enrollment into life insurance is completed online and member self-service. And then every new employee will need to complete a life insurance beneficiary designation form, which is linked on this slide. And that's because you're automatically enrolled in that $12,000 term life insurance policy. The easiest way to think of how our life insurance works is in levels. There are 4 levels you can have. The first level is the basic term life insurance policy that NDSU pays for and you automatically receive. The second level is supplemental coverage for yourself that you can purchase. You're able to select up to a guaranteed issued amount of $300,000 without evidence of insurability, and up to $600,000 with evidence of insurability. An evidence of insurability, or EOI, is when you have to provide prior health history to the insurance company. And sometimes the company can require you to complete a medical exam. The third level of life insurance that you can purchase is for your spouse and your dependents. To be able to purchase this life insurance, you have to have first had selected supplemental coverage for yourself, so level 2. If you have level 2, you can select up to $10,000 in life insurance for your spouse and dependents. The last level, level 4, is if you want to purchase additional life insurance on your spouse only. You do have to have levels 2 and level 3 before you're able to select a policy on level 4. You can elect up to $100,000 on your spouse without evidence of insurability, and this level is limited to be only half of what the employee supplemental is. So if you had $300,000 of life insurance on yourself, you can only elect up to $150,000 for your spouse, and you would have to provide evidence of insurability for them because it's over the $100,000 threshold for EOI or without EOI. The last thing I want to mention about the life insurance is that you're only able to elect these higher dollar figures as a new hire. After your new hire enrollment, there are more limitations on how much life insurance you can elect without evidence of insurability each year during annual open enrollment or with a qualifying life event. So if you're interested in doing supplemental life insurance, now is the best time. Next is long-term disability. It's provided to certain employees at no cost, and it's provided through your retirement plan. So TIAA retirement participants have a disability plan underwritten by a company called The Standard. And then ND PERS defined benefit retirement participants have their own disability benefit. If you have a long-term disability policy, you're automatically enrolled and it's paid for by NDSU. And long-term disability is a policy that supplements a portion of your monthly income in the event you were to become permanently disabled while employed at NDSU. Typically, long-term disability policies require that claimants are out of work due to a disability for 6 months or longer, as there's usually a 6-month waiting period, or they call it an elimination period. So the last piece of insurance that I'll touch on briefly is our AFLAC supplemental insurance. NDSU partners with AFLAC to provide you with a variety of coverages at your own cost. They offer accident advantage, cancer care, critical care protection, hospital choice, and short-term disability. So these are plans that when certain medical costs come up, they'll provide you with funds if you get a claim approved. For example, if you had hospital choice and you were admitted to the hospital for some reason, an approved claim would pay out a specific dollar amount for that hospital stay. Cancer care pays out for routine preventative screenings for cancer. Accident advantage pays out if you or anyone in your family had an injury or an accident. So things like breaking a leg or falling and injuring yourself. It's common with children because they injure themselves all the time for parents to have this plan. And then one of the most commonly selected plans we see is employees enrolling in the short-term disability policy. So that's if you were to become temporarily disabled, the plan would pay you a regular income supplement up to 6 months. There is a link to the rates on the slide, and enrollment is handled by our AFLAC representative, Andy. He does over the phone enrollment where he asks for your information and then he texts you a link to sign off on the enrollment. He's very knowledgeable and is definitely the expert on all of these policies. So if you have any questions or want to enroll, you can always reach out to him. So now we'll go over our pre-tax accounts. First, we have our 2 FSAs. These are the healthcare FSA and the dependent care FSA. They're both administered by ASI Flex. So FSA accounts allow you to use pre-tax funds to pay for eligible expenses. And depending on the account, these expenses can be medical, dental, vision, or daycare expenses. For FSAs, your expenses must be incurred between your effective date in the plan through the end of the plan year. So at NDSU, our plan year goes from January until December, and then we have a grace period of allowing you to incur expenses through March 15th of the following calendar year. Claims must then be approved by April 30th of the following year, and then they call that the run-out period. There are 4 different ways to use FSA funds. There's a claim form. I have it linked on the slide. You can submit for reimbursement online through the ASI Flex website. You can use their mobile app, or the most popular option is their debit card that you would receive if you selected an FSA. One thing we always recommend is to retain all of your receipts if you use the debit card or plan on using these accounts for any expenses. FSAs are use it or lose it plans, meaning that if you elect a certain amount to contribute to for your FSA and then you don't use all of the funds that you elected, you forfeit those funds, and then you're essentially out that money. If you'd like to enroll in an FSA, this is done through a paper form, and you can pick it up anytime in the Office of Human Resources located in Hastings Hall, or you can reach out to me and I can email you the form. So the first FSA is the healthcare FSA. This FSA is only compatible with the PPO plan. This FSA is generally not compatible if you have the high deductible health plan. You can elect up to $3,300 for your healthcare FSA, and that you would contribute to that amount each pay period. The nice thing about this FSA is that the entire election amount is available at the beginning of the plan year in January. So if you know you have a big medical expense at the beginning of the year, you can use the funds right away, and then you're essentially paying it back through your payroll deductions for the rest of the year. These funds can be used for medical, dental, and vision expenses. So things like your deductible, your co-pays, co-insurance, prescriptions. There's a lot of things that you can use these funds for. And then I did include a link to a full list of what you can use the funds for on the slide. Next is the dependent care FSA. The 2025 election limit is $5,000 per household. This account, you can only spend the money that you've contributed to the account. So unfortunately, you do not receive the full election limit at the beginning of the year. Eligible expenses for this FSA include daycare, babysitting, day camps for dependents under the age of 13, or care for a disabled spouse or dependent while you're at work. You can't use these funds for care needed at other times outside of work. You can only use these funds for reimbursement for work-related purposes. The last of our pre-tax accounts is the health savings account, or the HSA. The HSA is only compatible with the high deductible health plan. You can't have the HSA with the PPO plan. Our HSA is administered by Health Equity, and the HSA is similar to the healthcare FSA, where you can use it for medical, dental, and vision expenses. And I did include a full list of what expenses you can use it for on the slide. These eligible expenses must be incurred on or after your effective date in the plan. And then the nice thing about the HSA is that this is your account and you can take it with you if you leave employment for any reason. And then the funds do roll over each year, and there's no deadlines for requesting the funds. So you can use the HSA funds by a debit card that you'll receive, or you can request reimbursement through their online account, or they also have a mobile app. And then lastly, you can make changes to your contributions into the account anytime in your member self-service portal. So here you'll see a chart showing the contributions into the HSA. You can see that the monthly employer contribution for employees in the single high deductible health plan is $101.74, and employees in the family high deductible health plan receive $246.16 a month. On the far right, you'll see there are annual maximum contributions for the year of $4,300 for single and $8,550 for family. And then employees age 55 and over are allowed an additional $1,000 catch-up contribution. And then these limits are set by the IRS and are subject to change every calendar year. In the second to last column, you'll see the amount that you can contribute up to on an annual basis. This is optional. You don't have to contribute to your HSA, but you can. Even if you don't contribute, NDSU will still contribute to your account on a monthly basis. As far as timing on when you can expect to see your HSA contributions in your health equity account, employer contributions begin the same month as your effective date in the plan. And then if you decide to contribute to it, your contributions would begin the month after your effective date in the plan. So for example, if you started on January 15th, your effective date in the plan would be February 1st. NDSU starts contributing to your HSA in February. However, you would start making contributions in March. Now, an additional layer to this is that there is a delay on when you will begin to see your employer contributions in your health equity account. You can expect a delay in the contributions actually showing in the account because the employer contribution changes hands a couple of times before it reaches health equity. First, it's sent from NDSU to ND PERS in Bismarck, and then only once a month, towards the end of the month, does ND PERS provide HSA funds to health equity. So it'll take about 2 months from your second paycheck to see the funds in health equity. That means the employer HSA contributions on a February paycheck would not show up in health equity until approximately April 21st. But if you want to contribute to your HSA, those contributions will be deposited bi-monthly, approximately 7 to 10 days after each paycheck. So now I'll talk a little bit about our well-being programs. The first one is the Employee Assistance Program, or the EAP. Our EAP is administered by the Village. You're automatically enrolled in this, and it's paid for by NDSU. The Village has a library of resources on their website that you can use. And then if they do require a password, I've included that on the slide for you. Otherwise, you can use this benefit by calling the number listed and explain you would like to use your Village EAP benefit through NDSU. So it's a few different things. First, you can receive 4 free counseling sessions per person in your household. And these are short-term counseling sessions that are completely confidential, and anyone in your house can take advantage of it. You don't have to be related or married to the people who can use this. As long as they live with you, like a roommate, they can use it. One nice thing about the number of sessions is that if no one else in your household uses their sessions, you can use them all yourself if you wanted to. So if 4 people live in your house and no one else takes advantage of this, you can use all 16 sessions yourself individually. So the counseling covers a variety of topics and areas such as relationship issues, emotional health, drug and alcohol issues, workplace, financial, or legal issues. Again, this is completely confidential, so NDSU doesn't receive any information about who is using the EAP counseling or anything like that. The EAP also provides crisis counseling 24/7 all year round with nationwide accessibility. And they also offer educational classes that you can trade in your counseling sessions for. So if you wanted to attend a first-time homebuyers class or parenting class, that would count as it would count as one of your household sessions. I've included a link to the Village's orientation video if you're interested in viewing that too when you get a chance. Our other well-being program is the Dakota Wellness Program. You receive this if you enroll in one of our health plans. There are two incentive programs. The first is a points program where you can earn and redeem points for participating in wellness activities like tracking your exercise routine and diet, attending well-being webinars, going to your preventative exams and screenings, and a ton of other things. When you first create your online account, you'll also have to complete an online health assessment, and you do earn points for this. And you can redeem those points for various gift cards and merchandise up to $250 per year, which is subject to tax. The other incentive is the fitness club incentive, where you can receive a credit of up to $20 per month for going to a participating gym at least 12 times per month. Next, I'll talk about retirement. NDSU has two types of retirement: primary retirement and supplemental retirement. You're only required to contribute to one of the three primary retirement accounts, and then the supplemental retirement plans are optional. For our primary retirement plans, we have the TIAA Defined Contribution 401A plan, the NDPERS Defined Benefit Hybrid Plan, and then just beginning this January 2025, some new employees will be enrolled in the NDPERS Defined Contribution Tier 3 plan. And this is because legislation has passed a bill disbanding the defined benefit plan at the end of 2024. Our optional supplemental retirement plans that we offer are the tax deferred annuity 403B plan and the deferred compensation 457B plan. And these are just another option for you to save for retirement, but you're not required to participate in them. And then I also included a link to our retirement chart that shows a side-by-side comparison of all of our retirement plans. I'll start with the TIAA Defined Contribution 401A plan. This plan is administered by the Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association. Generally, this plan is for employees in job bands 0 to 3,000. This plan is similar to a 401k, but it's a 401A because we're public higher education employees and contributions are defined, so they can't be changed. As you probably already know, like with a 401k, contributions are made to the account. Those funds are invested. And then once you retire, how much you receive from the account is dependent on your account balance and how well your investments do over time. If you have this plan, you're automatically enrolled in it, but there is some online account setup required. You do have to set up your online account with TIAA approximately 3 to 5 business days after your first paycheck. Once you have set up your account online, you can designate your beneficiary for your retirement there. And then I would recommend scheduling a consultation to discuss your retirement options with a TIAA retirement specialist. You can manage your own investments if you're savvy with allocating funds, or you can work with a retirement specialist at TIAA where they make recommendations for you. Contribution percentages for the TIAA plan are based on the category of your position. There's two categories. The first category is for faculty who are associate professors or research personnel in equivalent rank, and executive and administrative staff. Category 2 is for faculty who are assistant professors or instructors, research personnel in equivalent rank, extension agents, and professional staff. So as you can see, the contribution level is based on years of service. One thing I'll point out is that these contribution percentages can't be changed. So you can't increase or decrease them, they're defined. They only increase over time with years of service. If you want to contribute more to retirement, you would have to set up a supplemental retirement account. Next is one of the ND-PERS primary plans, the Defined Benefit Hybrid Plan, or sometimes called the main plan or the pension plan. This plan is administered by the North Dakota Public Employees Retirement System, or ND-PERS for short. This plan is generally for employees in job bands 4,000 to 7,000 who were hired for January of 2025. If you're in this plan, you're automatically enrolled in it. And then contribution percentages are included on the right of the slide. NDSU contributes 13.26% and you would contribute 3%. These contributions are defined and can't be changed as they're set in North Dakota State Board of Higher Education policy. This plan is essentially a pension plan where once you retire, you would receive a monthly retirement benefit payment for life. Your monthly benefit is based on your age, years of service, and a benefit multiplier. Vesting for this plan occurs after 3 years of service or once you turn age 65. And then everyone who has ND-PERS retirement needs to designate their beneficiary by completing a paper beneficiary form, and that's linked on the slide. The last of our primary retirement plans is the new ND-PERS Defined Contribution Tier 3 plan, also administered by ND-PERS. This plan is generally for employees who are in the 4,000 to 7,000 job bands and who have also started at NDSU on January 1st, 2025 or later. If you participate in this plan, you're automatically enrolled in it. I'll go over contributions on the next slide, but this plan is also a 401A plan. So again, like TIAA's plan, contributions are made into the account. Those funds are then invested, and then once you retire, how much you receive from the account is dependent on your account balance and how well your investments do over time. Empower is the trustee company for this plan, so they manage your contributed funds and investments. I would recommend scheduling a meeting with NDSU's Empower representative, Mike, to discuss how you would like to allocate your retirement funds, or you can manage your own investments online if you set up an account with Empower. Vesting for this plan follows a schedule, so the longer you're with NDSU, the higher the percentage of employer contributions you would get to keep. And after 4 years of service, you would be completely vested. Everyone who has ND-PERS retirement does need to designate their beneficiary by completing a paper beneficiary form. So there is no minimum employee contribution for this retirement plan. However, you do only have 30 days to choose if you want to set up a contribution percentage up to 3%. The minimum NDSU contribution is 9.26%. And then if you choose to make a percentage contribution, NDSU will match it for a total NDSU contribution of up to 12.26%. So if you decide you don't want to contribute anything, NDSU still contributes 9.26%. If you contribute 1%, NDSU will contribute 10.26%, and so on. To select your percentage contribution, you'll need to do this online in your member self-service account. And then I just wanted to emphasize that whatever you decide to contribute within your first 30 days is the rate that's set for life and it can't be changed. So that's why that part is in red text because it's very important. There is one special situation where an employee who was hired on January 1st or later could contribute to the old ND PERS benefit hybrid plan. And that's only if you have passed North Dakota State Service and contributed to the defined benefit hybrid plan in the past. And that plan, that account also has to be intact still with PERS. So if this is you, your benefits email that you got from me would tell you this. Um, if you, I would have indicated to you that you're participating in the defined benefit hybrid plan. And then if you think this is you and you didn't receive that information from me, you can always reach out and we can look at it further. For our supplemental retirement plans, we do have several options for you to choose from as we work with a variety of vendors. These plans are generally separate retirement accounts that do not have employer matches. They're just another option for you to put more money away for retirement if you want. You can contribute to a tax-deferred annuity 403(b) plan on a pre-tax or post-tax basis. If you choose a post-tax Roth 403(b), it has to be through TIAA for the vendor. We can't do post-tax 403(b) deductions with any other vendor besides TIAA. The other plan you can contribute to is a deferred compensation 457(b) on a pre-tax basis. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can do both of these supplemental plans if you like. I mentioned before that there's generally no employer match for these accounts, but like everything, there's one exception. If you have the ND PERS defined contribution plan as your primary retirement and you did not select the maximum employee contribution within your first 30 days, you can receive an employer match up to 3% in your deferred compensation plan. So then annual contribution limits for these two accounts are set by the IRS and can change each year. For 2025, 23,500 is the maximum annual contribution limit. And then if you're older than age 50, additional contributions are allowed. Enrollment into these accounts can be at any time, not just within the 31 days. And you can make changes to your contributions at any time throughout the year. How these accounts are set up are dependent on the vendor. So you would need to review our webpage for instructions on setting up the account. One thing to point out is when you do your benefits enrollment, you will see a quick enrollment option into the deferred compensation 457 plan in your ND PERS member self-service portal. Oftentimes new hires enroll in this by mistake. And if you do this and you don't want the account, let me know and we can fill out a form to cancel it. Okay, you've almost made it to the end. We just have one more slide. So after you enroll in your benefits, when can you make changes? Well, it depends on what benefit you want to make changes to. If you want to make changes to your insurance coverages or your FSAs, you can only do this during annual open enrollment or with a qualifying life event. Annual open enrollment is a 3-week period that begins in October, and you can make any changes you want, and then those changes go into effect January of the following calendar year. Qualifying life events include marriage, divorce, birth or adoption of a child, loss of other group coverage, or death of a family member. You do have to make your changes within 31 days of a qualifying life event. And as a side note, the change you make does have to match the event that's occurring. So if you have a baby, you can add coverage or increase your FSA. And if you're getting divorced, you can remove your ex-spouse from your plan or decrease your FSA. If you want to make changes to your HSA or your supplemental retirement account, you can do this anytime online in member self-service or with a supplemental retirement agreement for those supplemental retirement accounts. And then lastly, you can't make changes to your primary retirement account if you're a TIAA retirement participant or an NDPERS defined benefit participant. NDPERS defined contribution participants can only make changes within their first 30 days of employment. And then the only exception to this rule is if you have a position change and move from a band that participated in NDPERS retirement to a band that participates in TIAA retirement, or vice versa. In this situation, the employee would have the option to make a one-time irrevocable election into the other retirement plan. And then this is a rare situation. All right, you made it to the end. So now, after the in-person benefit session that everybody gets invited to, you can expect to receive an email that includes this PowerPoint and your benefits checklist with action items for you to complete. And then be sure to complete all those action items on the checklist, especially enrolling in your benefits by the deadline. Here's my contact information, including a link to my secure file drop if you want to send me forms with any private information on them. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to learn about benefits at NDSU.